Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Monali Longmailai, and my co-authors are Rajkumari, Monimala, Sinha, and Christina, Wasson. We will be presenting together on role and impact of community outreach programs for Dimasa digital preservation. First of all, we would like to give special thanks to the Dimasa community collaborators and interns who have assisted our project on Dimasa digital preservation, and the Indian Council of Social Sciences Research, New Delhi, for sponsoring the current research project on Dimasa. The next few slides will be presented by Christina Wasson.
Our presentation will describe community outreach programs as an innovative concept created by the Dimasa team. These activities were developed as a way to collect material for the Bodo and Dimasa Heritage Digital Archive, so we will start with an overview of the archive and then turn to community outreach programs themselves. The archive is a collaboration between members of two communities in Assam, the Dimasa and the Bodo. They're related, they evolved from a common ancestor, and decided to share an archive because it allowed them to combine resources. Today, we're focusing on the Dimasa side, but there is also an equally interesting Bodo side. The archive project got going in early 2020 after I met with Dimasa and Bodo folks at the Northeast Indian Linguistics Society meeting. My contribution was familiarity with the Mukurtu platform. It's used by many communities around the world, but ours is the first one in India. It has many strengths, but it's lacking in terms of preservation. It doesn't include the kinds of backup systems and data checks that a large institutional archive has. And because of this, Mukurtu is technically a content management system rather than an archive. So when we refer to the project as an archive, we're using the popular meaning of the word as a collection of materials that provide information rather than the specialist meaning. Here's the home page. You can see it's trilingual, and the logo incorporated both Bodo and Dimasa weaving patterns. Weaving is a symbolically important practice in both communities. The archive as a technology is embedded in an ecosystem of social relationships. Students in one of my classes developed this model. At the center is the Mukurtu platform and the content, meaning the cultural and linguistic materials. And then there are three social layers around it: the curators and managers, the users of the archive, and communities, the cultural values and social institutions that the archive is embedded in. We turn now to the community outreach program. This was the Dimasa team's solution to the need to collect materials for the archive. Many of the team members were young and urban and felt that they did not have enough cultural and linguistic expertise. The deepest knowledge of Dimasa heritage tends to reside in rural villages, especially among elders. So the community outreach program facilitated community involvement in heritage preservation. It helped build community pride, it enabled the collection of large amounts of material, and it helped promote and sustain heritage resources.
The Dimasa community mainly inhabits southern Assam and Nagaland in northeast India. They are recognized as scheduled tribes, which is a special privilege for the upliftment of a community under the 6th Schedule of the Constitution of India, 1950. The language, which is also Dimasa, has been introduced as a medium of instruction in schools from 2024, and the script as Roman since 2004. So here's a quick glance of the map of Assam, with the arrow pointing towards the central hub of Dimasa, that is Dimahashau, in which the Hasao speakers of Dimasa are found. And you can see to the north, Mojai and Karbi Anglong districts, in which Demra and Dijua speakers of Dimasa are settled. And to the south of Dimahashau, the Howar Dimasas are found in Kachar, Karimganj, and Hailakandi. And one can see the borders of Nagaland with Dimahashau and Karbi Anglong, in which the Dijua Dimasa people are found. The community participation of Dimasa was very high during the community outreach programs, especially in Kachar district, with nearly 200 participants and 100 plus recordings. And we will be focusing largely in this area for the presentation. We will also be discussing community responses from the fieldwork in Dibarai, which is in Dimahashau, and other community engagement activities in Kachar throughout the slides. We have used narrative inquiry, with the help of interview and observation methods for conducting the fieldwork, besides enactment for certain items such as songs, dance, etc., in which the language consultants require to perform and narrate or recite in the language. We created questionnaire especially for word list for the heritage dictionary purpose. And we have used Zoom recorder for audiography, Canon camera for capturing images, and Sony video camera and GoPro camcorder for making videos, besides the mobile phone, which came handy sometimes. We have visited 14 villages in Kachar district for the community outreach programs and one village, Lodi Kachari, additionally from Dimasa bordering Kachar. We stayed a day in each of these places and documented several categories such as dress, ornaments, food, history, flora and fauna, interviews of the village and personal interviews, traditional practices, songs, oral narratives, tools and instruments, stories, riddles, proverbs, dance, children games, oral history, manuscripts, and similar recordings from also other villages. In each of those visits, we organized awareness programs with pre-recorded lecture videos of our co-presenter, Christina Wasson, and Shobhana Chelia from Indiana University, besides sharing our purpose of the documentation with the community collaborators and how the community persons can contribute and engage with us before we carry this field work. Community members also gave feedback during the program, and here is an instance of a community person, Mukul Chand Burman, in the picture, who volunteered to visit at least 6 of these villages and engage with us in the outreach program. We have trained several community persons in handling our equipments and allowing them to record the enactments and interviews. And this photo shows a similar instance in which the village youth of Dolai are handling the equipments and recording the activity of spinning yarn. During the program, we observed that the older generation has clearer memories of traditional practices such as games, paddy harvest, traditional food, songs, and they have preserved the generational heritage items. In the picture from Kanakpur, we can see the older generation enacting children's game, which is played with stones. And we can also see the dried ash gourd in the background, which is used to store rice wine. Here is another picture from Jaipur showing the generational wealth passed for at least 200 to 300 years. However, we found that the Dimasa persons from Kachar do not remember how to weave baskets, as seen here, which turn black as it gets older, or even musical instruments, probably because of the unavailability of natural resources to weave them in the villages. It's interesting to note that traditional practices which are blended with modern Hinduism was seen as negative among the younger generation some 2 decades ago, for which reason the present generation only hear them as narratives such as frog marriage as seen in this picture, which is practiced by several communities who are Hindus in southern Assam to pray for rain and bless their paddy harvest. The Dimasas mix the celebration by dancing Baidima after the marriage and by preparing traditional feast for dinner. Our documentation of the enactment of frog marriage brought several curiosities among children and motivated the Jaipur village youth to preserve this practice. There were also other documentations such as traditional housing and livelihood, archaeological sites and artifacts, cultivation, kirtans and Raslila dance from kirtan songs composed by the Dimasa king Raja Krishna Chandrahasnu in the 19th century. In the picture, we can see the traditional hut of Dimasa from Lodi Kachari village in Dimahashao bordering Kachar. The Dimasas of Kachar district do not own this kind of traditional housing anymore. Another instance like the frog marriage is the Raslila classical dance, celebrating the divine love between Lord Krishna and Radha during Holi festival, which originated and evolved from the 19th century. This kind of dance used to be popular in several villages in Kachar till the 1980s, which unfortunately disappeared to only a handful of villages today for the same reason of the identity crisis among the Kachar Dimasas of preserving their older traditional culture rather than the few century old ones. We documented this dance from Bourbon village and motivated the community persons to promote the dance equally with the traditional dance by Dima in the national platform and social media. The next few slides will be presented by Rajkumari Monimala Sinha.
We have also organized other community outreach programs. In this slide, we can see a glimpse of the community awareness conducted in Dibarai, Haflong on January 27, 2023. We received a very good response from the Dimasa people in Dibarai during our engagement on the need to preserve their heritage items digitally. We could therefore conduct fieldwork from January 26 to 30 in this year to specially document the Bushu festival, which is a harvest festival carried from January 27 to 31. Raji Bushu or area-wise Bushu celebration is held on January 27. We documented several songs, natives and music from the Bushu festival. In this slide, we can see the Dimasa musicians playing kharam, which is drum, and muri, which is pipe. The songs never accompany music traditionally, and the dancers change their dance movements based on the musical notes as changed by these musicians. The dance by Dima is performed the whole night until dawn during Raji Bushu. During the documentation of the Bushu Dima festival, the community members were highly immersive in data collection. All the informants demonstrated a highly positive attitude and were very welcoming. Both male and female informants from 20 to 70 plus years actively participated in sharing their knowledge related to the festival and providing valuable insights and perspectives. Other community events were creating video and sharing in social media on Dimasa archiving by the community collaborators on International Archives Day, June 9, 2021. Virtual lecture on archiving by Professor Wasson with Dimasa Scholars League in 2021. Certificate felicitation to community resource persons and awareness program from Kachar Fieldwork in Silchar in July 22, and digital archiving talk by Professor Wasson and community awareness program in Silchar January 23. Dr. Longmailai also delivered talks in Dimasa program section on All India Radio program to raise awareness on Dimasa archive, language and culture. In this slide, we can see community collaborators, community sponsors, along with community members displaying their certificates for participating as resource persons in the community outreach program in Silchar, July 31st, 2022. At least 30 to 40 community members participated in the event. Such activities help in digital preservation by creating a searchable database for easy access and retrieval, ensuring long-term preservation and storage of digital data and providing a platform for community engagement and feedback. It benefits the community by preserving cultural heritage for future generations and empowering the Dimasa community to take ownership of their cultural heritage. Such kinds of outreach activities have a huge impact by empowering marginalized communities and creating a model for digital preservation of their cultural heritage.
We plan to extend community outreach activities in other Dimasa inhabited districts as well and organize training programs for the community members in documenting and managing our digital archive. We also plan to maintain community support and promote digital archiving for language material production by collaborating with community members, sponsors, and government agencies. In conclusion, we can say that community outreach program can definitely engage large number of participants for digital preservation, thereby contributing online corpora of heritage information. It promotes positive attitude towards their linguistic and cultural heritages. Such activities help in sustaining dying practices as traditional knowledge. Collecting data using techniques such as narrative inquiry, interview, and enactment engage the community members as active or direct participants in the documentation process. Community outreach programs therefore serve as an important factor in connecting community members as collaborators and consultants in digital preservation. Thank you so much, everyone, and we look forward to your queries and comments.